Hi, I'm Shannon from houseimprovements.com, and in today's video I'm going to show you something a little bit different for our channel. I'm going to show you how to install a new luggage door or baggage door into the side of your RV. So I've already kind of started this project, and then I thought, you know, there might be people out there that want to know how to do this and would like to follow along with the process. So I've got a few things kind of started, but I'm not far enough along yet that I think you missed very much. So I just want to kind of go through what I'm going to do, or what I've done so far, and then continue on with the project. So what I've got is I believe they call this a 12 by 36 door that I want to put in the side of the RV. I've got a fiberglass wall RV, and I've determined I want to place this door here in the wall. There used to be a opening here. Let's see. This used to be mounted in the wall here so that a person could get out the remote gas line for running your barbecue or whatever. But anyways, we don't really use that feature, and I think I can relocate that to a little different area anyways. So I decided this is the best place for this new storage area in the side of the RV. And I'll show you inside so that you can see why I thought that was a good idea. So in the RV here would be the dining area. So normally there'd be the table here, and it's a U-shaped bench going around the table. But underneath this part of the bench, it was just basically wasted space. This whole area was hard to access because the panels were all screwed down under the seats, and it was really underutilized. So there's a space here that's probably 16 inches by close to 3 feet that totally was not used for anything before other than just a passageway for some cables and hoses and that, which I'll have to deal with. And I think there's enough slack in some of these lines that I can pull them out of the way. Or I may just put a false floor in this area too, so that these lines can still be underneath there and not get damaged by what I'm going to do. So what I did to start out, obviously I did a lot of pre-measuring and that sort of thing, just to determine whether I could even do this or what size door I needed. And it took me a while to find the right door, for one thing. But I finally found it. And I've never done anything like this before on my RV as far as cutting through the actual outside walls. I've done many other renovations in the RV to gain storage space, but nothing like this. So I was a little apprehensive, but it's too late now. I'm going for it. So if I screw it up, you're going to see it. So what I started out with before I cut any holes in the side is I cut out this piece of paneling. This was under the bench here. You can see where I cut it out around there. And I wanted to make sure there was no aluminum framework in the way. Not that I was super concerned. I think I was still going to go ahead anyways and cut the hole. But I wanted to know what was in there. Make sure there was no wires or anything, which I was pretty sure there wasn't. But in the end, there was no aluminum studs or anything in here. There's a piece of aluminum track piping down at the bottom, and just the framework here of the bench, but I'm staying all below that anyways. So once I had the panel cut out, I could see kind of what I was up against, and it looks like it's pretty smooth sailing, other than I'm going to have one screw here that I may have to cut off. Well, I will have to cut it off. So I'm kind of at the point where I wanted to mark out the outside surface. So I determined my elevation by drilling a couple of holes just above this aluminum tubing, right through the wall to the outside. So that kind of gave me a starting point. That gave me a starting point here. Let me just get seated. That gave me these two holes, right there and right here. So I know where my elevation is outside, and I think I'm good to go. I taped off, obviously, the wall because I'm going to use a jigsaw to cut this. Basically, I'm cutting, you know, about 1/8 of an inch. There's some 16th inch paneling and a 16th inch skin of fiberglass right there that I'm going to be cutting through, and the rest of that's just foam, so it's not going to take much to cut. I took the door itself here, and I needed to, you know, this lip here is what's going to protrude through the wall, so I needed to cut the hole just a little bit bigger than what that is. So I decided I would just make up a template out of the box that door came in, and I just traced it out just a little bit bigger than what the door was itself onto the cardboard. Once I had my bottom holes there, I knew my height, and I just measured, decided what I needed side to side, and just traced that out onto the tape. So you can see I've got that. I've done a lot of checking and stuff inside to make sure that everything's gonna work inside, and I think, fingers crossed, I think it's gonna be all right. So anyways, I'll get the camera on the stand and I'm gonna cut this out. So I'm using a jigsaw, and I've got about a 14 count, or 14 teeth per inch blade that I'm using. I think that'll be fine enough not to cause any real damage. So let's see what we can do. Got it. Okay, so I've got the panel cut out. There it is laying there. And you can see we've got our aluminum track here. Oh, there's that screw I've got to cut off still. And we've got a void back there for some reason in the foam. Not a big deal. I've got to get some of that foam out of there anyways. But anyways, here's the cut. And I think now what I'm going to do, I'm going to get rid of this one screw that's sticking up, and then I can test fit the door in the opening. And I think I can pull the tape off all the way around. Something else that's probably important for me to mention is when you're doing this, I didn't use a level for any of this. I want to go with straight to the body lines, because you don't know if your camper's sitting completely level or whatever. I didn't want to take the time to perfectly level it up. So I was basically using this bottom track, which is like the bottom wall plate of the wall, as my straight line to measure off of and everything, so that it'll all look true to all the body lines and other lines on the outside. So okay, I'm gonna cut this screw off, and then we will try test fitting the door and just make sure it fits in there. Okay, so let's give this a try. Make sure everything's gonna fit. Oh, they've taped the key onto the side of the frame here, so let's peel that out of there. That'll make it have a little bit more room. We're all right. We just got a little bit of foam there. Sort of away. The blade was non-existent. What am I hitting here? Oh, I see. I've got a bit of paneling on the inside here. from when I cut that paneling out that's actually in the way. So I need to trim that out, and then we should be all right. I think I'm close now. I don't know if that little shelf's going to be in the way there or not. I think it might be. Okay, well I definitely fit in the hole. I'm going to have to do some fine tuning back there on where that little shelf is. But that's good that it fits in the hole. Now the other thing I think I want to do is I think I'm going to peel back this foam and cut some solid wood that I can slip in there to make the wall a little stronger. You know, we're good down here because we've got that aluminum, but the other three sides I need to be able to strengthen that up and give me something to fasten to as well. So I think I'll carve that foam out of there. Probably just with the oscillator, I'll just eat it out. So I'm gonna carve that out just with this blade. It doesn't have to be too fancy. I'll maybe go back about an inch, I'm guessing, and then I'll cut some wood blocks, and we'll come back when I'm fitting those in. Okay, so I got all that foam out of there, and I got the vacuum out and kind of vacuumed things up a bit. But you can see now I've got this space in there, and my thought was I've got to cut these down a little more yet, but I think this stuff will slide up in there, and that'll just get my wall solid again, and also give me something to mount the door to. So I've got to do a little bit of work on those. There was another screw here that was coming up, I don't know, through the floor or whatever, but it's just, I think, in the right part of the round there that shouldn't interfere with this panel. There, so my door goes in, and you can see it's nice and straight along the bottom. Let's see what it looks like inside. If it doesn't fall out when I walk in here. So yeah, there we go. There's our panel here. So I think that's going to be all right. So you can see I need to get that wood in there to take up some of these spaces that are left. But that's going to be good. And I can see this door would be good even on a thicker wall. I don't know if the walls get any different thicknesses on the RVs, but maybe the older ones that are wood framed would be a little thicker. I'm not sure. So anyways, something else I should just mention about this door as I'm thinking about it. Some of these doors, when you've purchased them, make sure you're getting one. If you need this piece of fiberglass to be on there, make sure it says it's there. Some of them you order and you need to reuse the piece that you cut out of your RV, and it fits into the door frame. Now in my case, I really didn't want to do that because I've got this ugly sticker and this gaping hole and stuff in there. So I'm glad that I was able to find one that came with the panel in there. I mean, it's definitely wider than my RV, but it doesn't look any different than some of the other trims and stuff on here. So this RV is a 2012, so I mean, it's going to be a little different in color anyways. And I do lose this bit of stripe here that I cut out, but I don't think it looks that bad. If I really was picky, I could go to a stripe shop and get them to make up a little chunk. You can see the piece down there that is on that panel, but I'm not going to worry about it. I think this is going to be good enough. So I'll get my blocks cut, and I'm going to have to glue them in. Probably use some construction adhesive and glue them in there and clamp them, leave them overnight, and then come back and secure the door. Okay, so I've got all my blocks of wood cut to fit everywhere. I've got a couple of them glued in. Just going to get the rest glued in. And I was thinking I was going to have to clamp this up and let it sit overnight and come back and put the door in, but these fit pretty snug, so I think I'll be able to get them all in place and secure the door, and that will hold them in while this glue dries. And then I've got the bulk of this project done. So you can see it's there's a lot involved in doing it, but A little bit of risk. I really didn't know what I was gonna find. But after contemplating it for a while, I said, heck with it, I'm gonna do it, and we'll see what happens. I've done a lot of RV type repair and restructuring over the years. We've owned a few RVs, and there's always a lot of wasted space by most manufacturers. So every time we get one, it's always a fun thing for me to figure out where I can get more storage from. And usually it's not that difficult, and this is one of them. But this is the first time I've ever cut right into the side. Okay, so I've got those in. I put a little bit of construction adhesive on there. I've got some on my hands. I don't know what to do with it. I don't have a rag handy. I'm gonna get rid of that. Okay, so I've got that there. Now, the door, I went ahead and pre-drilled some holes around the perimeter because I'm going to attach this with screws. Okay, so that I already did. I'm going to use some of this RV. I'm not sponsored by anybody, by the way, as far as products here. This is just stuff I have. Dicor products. Anyways, it's mostly for fixing leaks in RVs with rubber roofs. It'll bond to fiberglass, so I'm going to use it for this. You could use mastic, like a peel and stick type mastic around there. I just feel like that's going to hold the frame out more than it really needs to. So I'm going to use this stuff. I'm just going to run a bead around the perimeter. The only thing with using this is I don't know what's going to happen when I tighten up this little door in there. I could have a mess to clean up. I'm just not sure, but I don't want to get too chintzy on the seal, on the caulk. So we're going to make sure we put a good 1/4-inch bead or so. I noticed the lip on this door doesn't sit 100% tight to the surface everywhere, especially in the very corners, so I want to make sure I have enough of this to create a seal so I'm not getting water in there. And just staying, there isn't a really big lip on this door, so I'm just trying to stay right along the edge as much as I can. And maybe that'll prevent it from oozing out everywhere more than I need. I'm going to seal the bottom, not so much for water, but just for dust and that, to keep this relatively dust free, hopefully. There's a good, I should show you after, there's a really good rubber seal on these doors, so you know, as long as you got it sealed good to the wall, you shouldn't have any problem with water or dust coming in around the actual seal on the door. Okay, so I got that in there. Just one more double check to make sure I got enough. Maybe a little light right here. Let's make sure I got enough there. There we go. Looks pretty good everywhere else. I think we're all right. I can always go around the very outside too after if I feel I have to. Okay, so I'm going to, I probably should have dry fit that once more before I had that caulking in the way, but oh well, it's too late now. So just gonna set it in here. Oh, I'll just show you that rubber seal. So you can see here it's like a bulb type rubber seal, and it's actually very effective on all my other doors anyways. So I'm going to set the bottom in, do a little wiggle, make sure I'm sealing up. Okay, I think I'm all right there. And I'm going to pre-drill. I'll look along the bottom here, just see what my gap's like. It looks like I'm sitting nice and straight there. I'm also looking at my reveal just to make sure that the frame hasn't, you know, warped or something. It actually looks like it's pretty rigid and it's staying the way it should, so I should be able to just pre-drill and put some screws in. I'm using number 8 screws, and I'm pre-drilling with a, goodness, I don't even know what this is, 7/64 or something. Now I'm going to use these. These are 1.25 inches. I think those are going to be all right. They may protrude through a little bit, but they're going to get some good meat there when they fasten in. Okay, that's sucking in there nice and tight. That is good. Okay, now these ones down here are going to be going into that aluminum, so let's see how that goes. Don't think there'll be any wiring in there. I'm very sure there won't be. Okay, that went well. That's sucking in really nicely. Kind of looked at the other doors on the RV just to see kind of, you know, how many screws the manufacturer used, and this is kind of what they were doing, so I'm gonna go with that. I can always add one here in the middle, top and bottom, if I think I need it later, but I kind of doubt I will. Okay, it locks, it latches. I love it. I got a lot of work to do inside there to make that compartment the way I want it to be finished. I think I'm going to put a lot of the, you know, the leveling blocks and all the dirty kind of stuff in here, because when we're set up in camp, we have a table sitting outside in this position. So we can't really access this that easy once we're set up, but this will be a great space to keep all that, you know, the blocking and wheel chocks and maybe my power cord, that sort of stuff. It'll all be in here so we can throw it out when we set up and throw it all back in there when we're packing up. So I think that's really good. I didn't get a lot of ooze, so that's great. A little bit over in this corner, but I think I'm just going to leave it alone, and I'll clean that up once it's set and cured. Let's go have a quick look inside. Or how about a behind the scenes look before we go inside. Yeah, what a mess. I may not be the tidiest when I'm shooting a video and trying to get things done. I've got a lot of stuff spread around here to do this job. Kind of trying to keep everything within arm's reach so that I can do as much as I can without getting up a million times. So yeah, I got some cleanup to do. So looking at the inside, let's get the camera right down in here. Yeah, I think we're gonna be good. You can see the wood blocks here where I cut the paneling a little too far. You can see I've got glue there and there's no paneling for it to stick to, so anyways, not a huge deal. Well, there you can see, can you make out, that's the screws protruding in that I fastened with, so that isn't going to be a huge deal. Okay, I think we're good. So maybe what I'll do, I'm going to get away from this project for a couple days, but once I get back to it and finish off that inside compartment, I'll maybe do the wrap up of the video then, and then you can see the completed project. Okay, so I finally got back to this project. It's been 2 or 3 days since I made the opening in the side of the camper. And I've basically lined the inside of this storage area with plywood and OSB, just scraps I had kicking around, just to make it a little more solid. I plan on throwing a lot of our outdoor stuff in here that can sometimes be dirty and you know, not so nice to deal with. So this way, if we bump things around a bit, it's not a huge deal. So you remember the furnace it is back in there. we've covered that up, but I've left it so I can pull that panel off and still keep it accessible. I rerouted the gas line. Let's see if I can get down in here. So it comes from the floor down here, behind this wood, up around here. Oop, my lighting is getting a little bad, sorry. And back around to there. And then I moved the hole, which is this right here, that used to be where the door is that I cut in. I moved it down the wall a little bit and put it there. So this is where that valve is for the outdoor remote propane hookup. We don't really use it, but it's there and accessible if we ever decide to. And I just put this piece of plywood here just to kind of keep the hose up out of the way. And yet there's movement there when we pull it outside if we ever need it. So I couldn't go all the way to this end because you know, some of these wires were short. I really didn't want to shorten all that stuff. And there's a big wire loom down there that I couldn't really mess with too much anyway. So we lost a few inches there, but we definitely gained a lot more storage than what we had. And then from outside, there's the opening, obviously. And here's that little door that I redid in there with the propane hookup. So that's there, so that looks normal. Let's see what we got here. I added a little catch up here so that when the door is put up, holds the door up out of the way. And now you can kind of see what we have going on down here from this side. So lots of storage back in there. So we're all good. That up there is the back side of a receptacle, and it stuck out just a little more than the framework of the bed, so of the seating area, so I just cut it out. So hopefully that video turned out all right. Like I said, it's something a little different from us. Maybe I'll do some more RV type videos because I do tend to enjoy modifying our RV all the time, adding storage here and there because there's generally a lot of wasted space in most of them. So I appreciate you watching, and as usual, please click the thumbs up button, subscribe to our channel if you haven't yet, and please keep watching.